Hi, good afternoon, folks. In this video, what are the 10 sweetest first Stanley Cups in NHL history? Coming up. Once again, good afternoon all. I hope everybody's doing well after that debacle that we seen yesterday with our boys. What can we do, right? We got a game in about 27 hours, so we'll see what happens then. Okay. Now, the theme of this, okay, is what are the 10 sweetest first cups in NHL history? So the teams that qualify for this list, this is all their first Stanley Cups in their history, okay, that make this list. And I put them in the order of 10 that, for me, impacted me the most. And I'll give reasons why as we go along. So let's get going on this. And I will start with number 10. And we will work our way up the ladder. The 1994-95 Devils come in at number 10. And if I was going to give just a few brief reasons why, is because I seen the Devils when they first came in, when they transferred from Colorado over here. And they were a joke as the Rockies. Guys, it was really something else. I mean, for those of you that didn't see them as the Rockies, this team, there's a reason Gretzky called them a Mickey Mouse organization, because it was that bad at one time. They were like the joke of the NHL. I mean, you go to a game in Colorado and they'd be saying, icing, Rockies. You know, they would announce when there's an icing, you know. I mean, things have changed in Colorado now. They're familiar with the game and everything, but back then it was really bad. And before that, the Kansas City Scouts, where they just weren't good. They were just never good. I remember when they made their first playoffs, it was a huge thing. It really was. So they come in at number 10. Number 9. And I think I got my order right. I looked at it again and again, and I said, yeah, this is about right. For me, personally. Coming in at number 9 are the 2003-2004 Tampa Bay Lightning. And I want to just check 8th ahead of time, okay? What I found is especially interesting about the 2004 Tampa Bay Lightning, guys, is you've seen in that video I did yesterday just how bad they were for so long, and then they just became champions. So it was from like cellar to Stanley Cup, you know? That's basically what it was. It was a really nice story when it happened. And Calgary fans, I know, I did see that replay of the goal where it looked like it might have went in. But I guess we're never going to know for sure. You know, that's the problem with that. I mean, that was hundredths of a second. It's hard to tell. It is. That was Game 6 in overtime in Calgary, where it looked like Calgary actually scored. And oh well, no way to know for sure. Okay, the 2011-2012 LA Kings come in at number 8. And I was very impressed with that team. That team, what was special about that team, I guess more than anything, was how they went up 3-0 in every round. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. That was something, eh? An 8th place team. They could have made the list higher, but for personal reasons, they don't, you know? Because the Kings, the truth is, made the finals in '93 and choked. And I count that against things like this. They kind of choked up in that series. They had them, they had Gretzky, they had everything was working. They should have closed out Game 2. They blew it with that stupid, that call that on McSorley, and God. And then that was it. They fell apart after that. So the Kings come in, for me, at number 8. Number 7. Yep, this has to be, oh, hold on, I made a mistake. This is one of my personal favorites. The 1988-89 Calgary Flames. And I had seen them since their inception. I seen them when they transferred from Atlanta over to Calgary. And what was special for me in that one, okay, is that was the only time that the Habs ever lost on their home ice a Stanley Cup. That was the only time. And it almost happened again last year. It almost happened again, but Montreal refused and forced a Game 5 in Tampa. Tampa almost became the second team in history to win a Stanley Cup in Montreal. But Calgary, what was big about that series is Montreal looked like they were about to go up 3-1. Calgary pulls the goalie in Game 4, forces overtime, wins, goes back home, wins, comes back to Montreal, wraps it up. And when they went back, all these games were tight, but Calgary needed to get that series evened up because they had choked to Montreal in '86, and yes, it was a choke. They came out like gangbusters in Game 1, and then Skrudland scored 6 seconds into overtime in Game 2, and that was it, game over. And from that point on, Montreal just took the next 3 games. It's like, oh my God. Did they ever lose in the finals, these guys ever? God. And then, but they were always the bridesmaid to the Oilers in the 80s, you know what I mean? So this was a nice Stanley Cup, and they won it they became the first team in Montreal to ever beat the Habs on their home ice in a Stanley Cup final. Number 6. Where are we? Right. I just need to see the years. Next come in the 1990-91 Pittsburgh Penguins. And if I was going to give any reason, it wasn't because, believe it or not, guys, it wasn't because it was Mario Lemieux for me. I know a lot of people will say, oh, it was Mario's first cup and that was special. No, for me, it was just special. It really was just special seeing the Penguins win a Stanley Cup. When they beat Minnesota, that was the first finals I ever seen in my life where the North Stars and the Penguins were in the finals, and one team is going to win the cup, right? But the special thing was both teams in their history had never won a cup. I've never seen a final like that. That was the first time in my life in 1990-91 that, 91 I should say, where when they went into that Stanley Cup finals, I was like, God, and the North Stars went up 2-1. The North Stars were looking good. The North Stars were crap that year, but had a great run under Bob Gainey coaching them. Bobby Clark was the GM. It was a really special time for North Star fans as well. That's back when I didn't hate the Stars. I don't like Dallas now. I can't stand the Dallas franchise entirely, to be honest. But it's not like, I was happy when Lindy got a job there, put it that way. I thought that it served the Sabres right, that when that happened. So they come in at number 6, the Penguins. Number 5. And this was a nice one. Most Sabres fans will agree with this one. The 2018-2019 St. Louis Blues. And for me, the main reason was seeing the Blues win their first cup. That, for me, was exciting. I've never hated the Blues for any reason ever. It's just one of those teams I used to even cheer for as a kid because I was brought up in a house where my mom, her second favorite team, for the longest time was Montreal, then it was St. Louis. And because of the expansion, I guess everybody kind of adopted an expansion favorite team when the great expansion 6 came in, right? And to see the Blues break through and win their first cup was exciting, I gotta say. And especially that they beat the Bruins in their home ice. They beat Boston. And it didn't look good going into Game 7, you might recall, but the Blues were up to them physically, completely ready to beat them, and they were above and beyond deserving of winning their first Stanley Cup that season. The only sad thing I seen is the Blues fans started getting arrogant online. I'm like, oh, come on, guys, you've always had such a good rep, Blues fans are usually really cool and chill. And then the Blues fans started bragging and, oh, God, taking cheap shots at Tage Thompson and laughing at the Sabres. I'm like, oh, you guys also? God. But he who laughs last, laughs first. Don't forget that. All right, Number 4. Yeah, without a doubt, this is one of my favorites. The 2017-2018 Washington Capitals. I was really happy, not because of Ovechkin. You know, everybody's saying, I'm glad Ovechkin got one. I was glad the Washington Capitals got one. Forget Ovechkin, okay? I was happy that the Washington Capitals won a Stanley Cup because I seen them from their inception. I seen the 867-5 season. I seen it. And I remember back in 1975 when I was a kid, I remember the one thing I believe the Capitals had going for them, they had the same 3 colors as Montreal with the red, white, and blue. That was about it, because the Capitals were bad for like forever. And then they got Rod Langway a deal from Montreal, and from that point on, became contenders and serious threats. And then they went through the era of choking throughout the 80s and even the 90s. They, you know, I know they made the finals, but when they finally broke through, because they were choking before this cup. They were choking for years. Remember 2010 when they lost to Montreal? That's one example, just one example. This team went through so much heartache as a Sabres fan, I could relate to what that franchise was going through. So I was really, really happy to see the Capitals win their first cup. And I was cheering for Vegas all the way out west at the time. I had to go for the Capitals, though, when it came down to those two. I had no choice, God. Way more suffering. The Vegas fans didn't, you know, they haven't suffered yet. Let the Vegas fans suffer for 20 years and then we'll talk. Let them get through some heartbreaks. They haven't had any heartbreak over there yet. Not really. All right, number 3. Sabres fans will love this one. But for me, it is number 3 in the list. The 1973-74 Philadelphia Flyers, the Broad Street Bullies of that era, were probably the biggest draw of the NHL after that cup. After that cup, them and the Montreal Canadiens were the biggest draws, not teams like the Bruins and the Rangers. And the Rangers and Bruins had good teams back then, really good teams. But everybody loved the antics of this team. They were the team you loved to hate. But what was special about the 73-74 Philadelphia Flyers was they broke the barrier. They broke the barrier. They beat the original 6 in the Stanley Cup final. It was unheard of at the time. Nobody would, making to the finals was the accomplishment, you thought, but not so with this team. When Bobby Clark scored in that game in Boston in overtime, and all of a sudden we had a series, you knew going back to Philadelphia, it was not going to be easy for the Bruins, and my God, this team was ready to do anything. That was Bobby Orr in his heyday on the Bruins, all of it, and the Flyers. I still remember with 2:22 left in Game 6, Bobby Orr taking a penalty. And you knew 22 seconds of Bobby Orr coming on the ice in that Game 6 when it was 1-0 still could tie the game. He was that awesome. So the 73-74 Flyers, very special team, and will always go down in history as the team that broke the barrier in my books. And yes, of course, this Sabres fans, you got to remember, we started hating them in 75. Not really here. I mean, unless you just didn't like fighters, then I can understand. All right. Now, number 2. Here we go. The 1979-80 New York Islanders. There was a team, a franchise that was labeled as chokers. The team they'll never be able to win the big game. You never hear that today about their history, but that was a big part of their history before Bob Nystrom scored the goal from John Tonelli in that Game 6 in overtime. Till that happened, chokers. People say they went from team to champions. No, they went from chokers to champions in a split second. And for me, it was still the most exciting goal I've ever seen in my life, ever, was the Bob Nystrom goal For you kids that haven't seen it, go check Bob Nystrom scores in overtime and go find it against the Flyers, Game 6, 1980. It was the most awesome moment. And it was still heartbreaking for me that the Sabres weren't in that finals that year because I thought we were going to win the cup that year. We bowed out to the Islanders in 6. And to see the changing of the guard also, that Montreal was done when the North Stars took them out, I was happy. But the Flyers, they beat the Flyers that year. The Islanders had a bad season, but they turned it up a notch late in the year, and they played the Flyers in the finals, who went 35-game unbeaten streak that season as well. Just a storybook season in so many ways in my memory. All right, and number 1, any guesses? All right, get your coffee and guess this one. The 2025-26 Buffalo Sabres. You heard it here first. There you go. Come on, Sabres fans. You thought I was going to leave us off this board somehow? Come on, you know me better than that. That's the year I got them pegged, and I got proof they're going to win the cup. Number 26, 2006. And who's number 26 on the team now? Look at the Stars, how they line up. Who was the big goal scorer back in the day in 2006 and one of our top snipers, right? Yeah, the 2025-26 Buffalo Sabres, I will say this, if that happens, and I think they're going to win a cup very soon, when that happens, I'll say, it's going to be the sweetest Stanley Cup in NHL history. I can guarantee you that, because the suffering Buffalo fans have done over the years is second to none. It's second to none. Toronto can complain all they want. Sorry, no, you got all the money in the world, you're a big market, and you've got a ton of cups in your history. Big difference. Okay, guys, that's it. Unless I'm forgetting something to mention about the Sabres, that I wanted to surprise you with at the end, have a little fun with you to get the day going, and I'll see you in the next video.